Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Sorry about last week, but work calls. So I apologize for missing. I think it was the first Clobbering time we ever missed since we launched the show.
I think I missed it. I don't think you've missed one.
Yeah, you missed it. If I remember once because you with your dad or something like that. But
it's just get a bug up my butt, and that's it.
It was the first time I missed. Just canceled the show, but. So
Yeah.
The good news is my work schedule is back to normal now. So it's Clobbering time could be at 7:00 next week. Back to normal.
That'd be good.
Yeah. So I hope to rebuild my channel because it's been like a year of this wonky time. So back to normal streams and stuff.
Oh, good.
I'll do my 7:00 normal stream Eastern Standard Time. Also tomorrow, I'm going to do the Avengers Assemble at 10 a.m.
Okay.
So I'll do Avengers 151. So Saturdays I'll do Avengers. Sundays I'll do X-Men, and once in a while I'll swap out something if something catches my eye. So that's channel news. Give people some time to pop in. So here is the invite if anybody wants to join in, and we'll talk about inconsistent characters. So Marcus, how you doing? I haven't talked to you in like 2 weeks now. It seems.
I know. I'm fine. It's the same as always. I'm tired. The driving gets to me,
Yeah. I like driving less and less as I get older.
Hold on, that's me. There we go. That's fixed. Sorry, I forget when you don't put the link in, and when you put the link in YouTube, I sometimes forget to close it out. I apologize.
So, oh, you had an echo? I didn't even hear it.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, I'm fine. I think I had a little cold. I don't know. I've had a lot of sinus headache a lot recently, but I'm fine. Yeah.
What's the weather like over there now?
Oh, today we got into the 70s, but it was pretty cool last, like into 40s and 50s 2 days before. It's a little inconsistent.
It's weird because it's like freezing here and everybody else is warm.
Yeah, it got warm today, yeah, but it wasn't. I mean, I get warm anyway. Like you drive enough, you just get hot in a car. It's like ridiculous. But the fixed internet all day,
So I'm kind of looking forward to going back to normal schedule. I can start up my game nights and stuff again. Actually,
I know. I was thinking about that. What was it? I was thinking about that. Was it last week? That I go, gee, he really hasn't had his game nights.
Yeah, I
was thinking about that.
I have on Saturdays. I had them like just a few times.
Oh.
Yeah. So back to normal, everybody. Back to normal schedule. Although some people probably be like, "But your normal schedule is midnight." Yeah. The only bad thing is I'll be waking up to the alarm clock again.
Well, it's a whole different group of people at midnight, right?
Yeah. I know people on the East Coast like it. But anyway, it's Clobbering time. It's a show where we just talk about comic book characters and make crazy scenarios. And I kind of ran out of like this guy versus that guy, this team versus that team. So now we're kind of doing like more abstract concepts. So tonight we're talking about just inconsistent characters. Which comic book characters have been just portrayed inconsistently for a long time? And we got Tony. How you doing, Tony?
Hey, Tony. Now we're back.
And now we're back. And just a reminder, this is an open invite show. Anybody can pop in. Tony just started popping in, and now he's a regular. Marcus just started popping in.
Right. I should tell you this, John. This is funny. I was at a Comic-Con, and a guy come up to me. He was talking to Andy Smith, and he's in our chat and stuff. He's around, and he may have gotten your book. I'm unsure. And he goes, I'd like you to do a sketch cover for me. Now, I have no space at the con, really. I could. There was space then, but I could cut off in 15 minutes. I said, can I take this home? And it was Superman 280, a Nick Cardy cover. Okay. Superman's like going like this, and he's half thing. And he wanted it to be the Samaritan from the Astro City. So I know how much you like the Astro City. And I have the sketch cover. And I said, gee, I never did a sketch cover. I better practice. It's his comic. Not that it seemed like he cared all that much about it. But so that's when I draw the people on the sketch cover that I got from Phil Diaz at Heroes Con.
So you said this guy was in that chat? So it's somebody that watches
Stage Comics. I think he's been in over at some point. He's not in a lot of chats. He's like in Aaron's chat mainly. but he likes Aaron and Andy, and that's about it. And he likes some Rippaverse stuff. He's a comic collector, you know, older guy. I don't know. I forgot his first name, but John's his name, I think. I don't know his last name. So
yeah, when we all get old, we want to be ready. I've always kind of just liked the ritual and routines of stuff. I mean, I like surprises too, but you know, like when I come home from work for the longest time, I would come home from work, open up my mail, listen to Diversity and Comics. You know, that was like my get out of work, change my mood kind of ritual. But anyway, we got a couple.
Well, being regular when you're older, like it has a whole other version where you're taking medicine, you have to go to the bathroom, whatever.
So we're going to talk about comic book characters that have been inconsistently portrayed. And Tony, you want to? I know you're the one who does like the most research. Marcus and I just rely on our memory, but you actually do research. My wife is joking about that. She goes, "Don't you feel bad that poor Tony does all this research and then you guys just make stuff up as you go along?"
I used to do more research when we had specific characters, and it depends on the day. Like if I'm not wiped out, like I'll do more. But lately, no.
Yeah. Well, I would say for me it would be Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was always inconsistent, very inconsistent. In the 40s, the way she was originally done by her, I'm trying to remember, Moulton Marston, thank you, and H.G. Peters. She was strong. She was strong. Like she could juggle elephants. You know, she was really strong, but she wasn't the equal to Superman, and she couldn't fly on her own volition. Plus, I mean, it seems like as the years go by, the power levels they've exceeded Superman's at the moment. She could fly on her own. And the origin story, I like the original origin story, but now she's like a goddess, right? She's the daughter of Zeus or something like that. And it's like, I preferred her when she was a little baby made from the sand, brought to life by the gods or the goddesses. The other one I would see that's inconsistent for me would be the powers of the Green Lantern. Okay. That's the reason why the Silver Age Green Lantern, the Green Lantern Corps. That's the reason why I've always liked Alan Scott more than I liked Hal Jordan and the Corps, because anything yellow and it's gone. All the powers are gone. So perfect example, Cosmic Odyssey. A nerd with several dozen cans of gold paint could basically prevent Jon Stewart from saving a planet, basically. Or the Frank Miller book with Jim Lee, All-Star Batman, where Batman basically painted himself and the entire room gold just so the Green Lantern couldn't touch him. But yet, if that's the case, how can Sinestro not mop the floor with him? Or Goldface not mop the floor with him? How can a bad guy with the number 2 pencil not, paint your bullets gold, paint your bullets yellow, paint your knife yellow.
That always bothered me about the yellow stuff, because okay, so I see the machine is painted yellow and I got to smash the machine.
Yeah.
Is the ground yellow? Pick up some rocks and have a hand.
I think he did do that.
Smash it.
I think he did do that. I think he had to think around the yellow. And also I remember, especially through the late 70s and 80s, they would always depower him. The ring would always be dying.
Yeah.
But that's why they got rid of it. That's why eventually they got rid of the yellow,
Yeah,
it didn't make any sense. No, by the 2000s, they got rid. Jeff Johns got rid of the yellow thing.
Okay.
He expanded all that, and all that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Right? Didn't they take Parallax out? Now Parallax, that was the yellow.
That was the yellow. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it didn't make any sense to anybody. And because the character, what I did like about inconsistency, that it depended on your personality, what constructs you could make for the Green Lantern. So Hal had a sense of humor, so he did boxing gloves and all sorts of goofy stuff. 60s goof. They explained the 60s goofy stuff. And John was an architect, so he did a lot of constructs, building things. And then since it's a legacy character, Kyle was an artist, so that he did a lot of more artistic things. And I like that idea. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
I
it's
like that
tied
a
to your
lot.
personality.
I like that
Yeah,
they
agree.
said like Hal was more simple, so he used simple machines and
Right, exactly. And it's willpower. I mean, I like the willpower idea, and there's certain people, but almost right away, it's like, well, Hal wasn't the first guy; it was Guy Gardner, and Guy Gardner was a jerk. Like, why would he be the first one that was made?
Well, the third one, and
That was
probably
a John Bloom thing, Guy Gardner.
my last one would be Hawkman. Now, that's not his fault or anybody that wrote him's fault. That is the Crisis on Infinite Earth's fault. That I don't know what the hell he is. He was a what was it? He was Thanagarian. Now I remember in the '90s they mixed it up where he was Thanagarian, but it was like he was they sort of smashed him together with the Golden Age Green Lantern to the point where he became like a hop god, like the character that Alex Ross portrayed in Kingdom Come. They never really knew how to write that character because they screwed him up after the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I think he was screwed up before the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and
Yeah.
DC didn't even know it because it was literally too. Like, if you read a lot of Golden Age stuff, so the Golden Age Hawkman, and it was by Sheldon Mayer and then Joe Kubert with the big, Alex Raymondy type of things, the Hawk people and all that. When they reintroduced him with Joe Kubert, they completely made him science fiction. The guy in the guy in the Golden Age was all myth, which is like both are kind of cool, right? The space cop idea is cool. And
they were separate.
Yeah. Carter Hall, Kator Hall. I mean, and then they tried to merge them way before, and then he was already half messed up. And Crisis really did finish him off. And then Tim Truman tried to redo him with Hawk World, which I did get. I like that. I like Tim Truman. And they had the Hawk World series that Graham Nolan drew. But that was like, they're always trying to up Hawk Girl and push down Hawk Man. I like they finally got that Hawkman series where he was really kind of like the brutish, like he was going to beat the crap out of somebody. He was going to come with the mace. I like the idea that he had the old fashioned, mace and swords and like he would take the stuff out of the museum. So the museum curator idea was good.
Yeah.
But his I still don't know what his origin is. I'll be honest with you.
Well, I always saw them as two different people. It's just when they tried to squish the Earths together, they didn't know what the hell to do with them.
Yeah.
The final one, and this one is because of writing, not so much the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Aquaman. Now, Adam Waterman from the 40s started off kind of a serious character. By the mid 40s, he became kind of a joke. And then in the early 60s with Ramona Freydon, I'm trying to remember the writer's name. I can't come up with it off the top of my head, but they basically ripped off Namor's origin, and they sort of tried to go action adventure, but he was still really dopey. You had like Topo the Squid, and it was just like it was very joking. That character, when I first was introduced to him, was in the Super Friends.
Yep.
I thought he was stupid, but then I don't know if either of you guys read this, but there was a beautiful 6-issue series in the mid '80s,
Yes, I read
drawn by P. Craig Russell. I'm trying to remember who wrote it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, where they changed the costume. Yeah, they changed the costume, black and blue, and I thought that was the neatest Aquaman story I've ever read. I mean, they really took him seriously. They really leaned into the lore, and Peter David really took. Can you hear me? Oh, Peter David really took from that series whenever he reinvented the character in the '90s with a heavy slant. Yeah, but
do you have YouTube open on your, because it's echoey?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me shut off my mic.
No, it's not that. Do you have like another window with YouTube open? No, because it's super echoey.
That Craig Hamilton pre-Craig Russell series came out when I was in college, so we all were reading that one.
I have that series. That's what he had, like the blue swishy outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot that was, or I never realized it was Pete Craig Russell. He's one of my favorite artists.
Well, he inked it.
deserves.
Craig Hamilton penciled it. He was a new penciler.
Beautiful covers, which drew me in. The story really made it serious. It really leaned into the Atlantean mythos. It basically gave Ocean Master, because in the Silver Age, the Ocean Master did bad things because he was a bad. They didn't really tell you what the hell his deal was, why he hated Aquaman. It was that series that made him his half brother.
Right.
And it was really well written. It's a shame that DC has not collected it. But that
Neil
was
the writer.
Mhm.
He was also a new talent guy, and that book had a lot of gay overtones because both Posner and Hamilton were gay. So
it
was beautiful work.
Mhm.
It was just in the art. It wasn't in the agenda. There was no agenda to that comic, if I remember right.
Yeah, that was a really good series.
It was a good comic, yeah.
But but Aquaman sort of, no one knew what to do with him. Is he jokey? Is he serious? Like in the 90s, they cut off his hand, they gave him a mullet, and then like I didn't read any of the New 52 stuff. I didn't like it. So I'm assuming that Jeff Johns' run was pretty good. Of Aquaman. I didn't even bother with it.
At the end of that Peter David run, they redid Aquaman with Kurt Busiek and Jackson Geis.
Right.
And it was beautiful, but they divorced it completely, and all of a sudden didn't know where he's from. They didn't really know what to do with him. His late 60s.
He was King Arthur rather than, yeah.
Mm. So those are
they killed off his wife in the late 60s.
I want to talk about all three of your choices because Aquaman is a really good choice. I didn't even think of him, and I should have. He is completely like they need to come up with an editorial decision and stick to it. But like, I guess the problem is if it sold well, they would keep it. So and it doesn't sell well, and Aquaman is what a 60-year-old character, so they're not going to get rid of him. So they got to try something else. That's the problem. I understand the business aspect of it, but
here's the irony of those DC characters, the Silver Age that everybody loves, other than Batman and Superman. Aquaman, Green Lantern, Atom, Hawkman never sold, and Wonder Woman never sold, but he had to be published. Right. Never really sold. They never reached 100 issues. They teamed up Hawkman and Atom at one point because they didn't know what to do with them. And the Flash never sold until like Mark Waid and those runs, and Mike Barron started that run. They never sold. They just didn't sell like these other, like Batman and Superman. Batman and Superman carried DC.
Yeah.
But there was consistency to the Silver Age Flash with John Broome. I mean, he had like a 200 issue run. That's what I liked about. After he left, I didn't even, I tried getting into the stories after he left, and it just wasn't the same. Really,
I read some of them. I saw the issue they killed off his wife Iris, and it's by Don Heck, and the panel's this big, and Reverse Flash puts her hand through it. It's awful. Like they try to do that on TV, and you're like during the Flash show, you're like, oh my god, that's awful. But it's only drawn like this big. Today it would be like this giant panel. And she'd be afraid, and this is so matter of fact. And she was dead. That was it. And he got a girlfriend like 3 issues later.
But if you read the old Golden Age stories of Aquaman, which are very hard to find, by the way, very, very hard to find, you will see that it is a completely different character than the character from the 60s. A completely different origin, a completely different attitude, pretty much. And the Aquaman that we all know, the three of us and everyone else around here knows, is the Silver Age Aquaman. No one really knows Adam Waterman. So there's always been.
You told me, and it's hard to get any information. It's hard to I've been Googling Adam Waterman, and there's not too much about him. I want to read up more. If you have any links, you could send me.
I would, John, look up this wonderful YouTube channel. Just not as wonderful as yours, obviously, but another one called Casually Comics. It's this nerd girl from Canada, and she covers a lot of old Golden Age, Silver Age, mostly Silver Age. She did a Adam Waterman Golden Age Aquaman, thing that is just. I mean, she got into the weeds with it as much as you can. She showed the issue where he goes to college and he studies oceanography it's weird, right? Because Aquaman, Silver Age Aquaman, had a topo, his little friend, his little cephalopod friend, but Adam Waterman had his own topo that was not called topo, but he was a cephalopod there that was helping him out, and the origin of Adam Waterman was essentially Doc Savage. You had a scientist, diver that found the ruins of Atlantis, found out the way he could genetically engineer his son to breathe underwater, and he basically experimented on his boy and gave him the powers to be Aquaman. And in the beginning, he would fight Nazis and he would destroy U-boats like Namor. But after the war, he just became a stupid character. He just became a silly strip. Mort Weisinger created him, and he always had a soft spot for him and Green Arrow. So he made sure they always were buried somewhere in the back where nobody would really look for them, and nobody could, say, hey, this guy isn't selling, let's just cancel him. No, he buried him in the back of Adventure Comics with the Green Arrow. And occasionally the Green Arrow, Jack Kirby had a neat little run with him, but the Green Arrow was pretty much invisible until he joined the Justice League. And when he was reinvented by Danny O'Neill, pretty much as what we all know him to be. But Aquaman never had much consistency, and in terms of his stories, they were just hard. They sort of I don't know. They were trying to be serious at times, and then they became jokey. Like, I'll give you an example of tonal whiplash: the death of Aquababy.
Right.
That was probably one of the most brutal things that DC Comics ever did with one of their characters, and it did not deserve to be in that book with that character. That should have happened. That should have been like with the Flash or the Lantern, but they just. One day, Black Manta rather decides to not only kill Aquababy, but torture and kill Aquababy, which was pretty screwed up. But at the same time, after that happened, it broke up the marriage between him and Mira.
Right.
And that led to his creation of the. Does anybody here remember the Justice League Detroit?
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, where he was the one founding member, and then you had a bunch of also runs.
Sibling Vaughn is watching. His ears just picked up because
he's the only one.
His vibe.
Yeah, so DC tried to
point this out, and then we'll go to Marcus here. But Green Arrow was reinvented many times. Mike Grell is just one of the more recent ones, and that's because But yeah, Green Arrow was of course created in the 40s, and then he was redone. But yeah, so. Tony's right, but also RRTZ is right. And also, I have to bring this up. I got a super chat, which, thank you. All super chats just go towards paying StreamYards, the service that keeps going up and the quality goes down. Okay, so RRTNZ says, the most consistent character is Marvel Captain Marvel. First, he's white, then blonde, then dies of cancer, then he's a cool black chick, then he's a bitchy Supergirl. Just the worst. Well, even though you paid $10, I'm going to disagree with you there. Marvel was pretty consistent, and he died. He had the white hair because he was, a Cree and everything. And then as he embraced his humanity, they never really explained it. As he became more human, his hair color changed. And that's because they didn't want him to appear like an old man. They did that a few times. They made Hal Jordan have gray hair, and then they got rid of it because they didn't want the characters to look old. Then he died. This is a new character. What's her name? Why can't I remember the Black Captain Marvel's name? Monica
Rambeau.
Yeah, she was a completely different character. Now, Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers, then you got a case for a really inconsistent character. Well, we'll go back to Carol Danvers after we're finished talking about Aquaman. I got a lot to say about Hawkman and a lot to say about Wonder Woman.
The one character I thought of, you put Hank Pym in it. That's too easy. That's like low-hanging fruit. Submariner.
Yeah, I was thinking of the Submariner, but the fact that John Byrne tied it all together with like a bipolar weakness kind of made his inconsistency consistent.
I guess because he was a completely different character in the Golden Age,
Right?
like Bill Everett, and he was immensely powerful when he fought the Human Torch. And they had him talking like an undersea teenager for the longest time.
Oh, really? Did he talk like a 50s teenager? Okay,
like
Dad,
suffering. He was a suffering shad, And then what happened was they made him in the 40s really powerful. And he's fighting, he's fighting with the invaders, and they had all the powers like he had the modern. But during the 50s, he completely lost all his powers.
Well, in the 40s, he was an anti-hero. He was the original comics anti-hero. In fact, I love in his first appearance, he's been already told by his mother, Queen Dorma, that he was half human. And yet the first humans he meets, he kills in the most horrible way possible. And he presents the corpses to his mom, like, "Look, Mom, look what I did." He was a horrible character. He was borderline villainous. And
they kept him young up in the 50s, and he lost all his powers.
Right.
Yeah,
and he was fighting. He was fighting like the mob, and he would get knocked in the head, but with a gun and go out. And then all of a sudden, they decided he needs powers again. And they go, "Oh, I got my powers."
He was consistent when he was written by Everett. In the 50s, Everett wasn't around, and in the 60s,
he was drawing a lot of those
by Stan Lee.
Stories.
So and Lee kind of brought him back to his roots of being a imperious,
much more imperious. He brought imperious, and then he had the powers of a blowfish and an electric eel.
Yeah,
and
that's funny. Welcome, Arkham.
That's all I want to mention.
He kind of was created to be like a villain who started his own comic, but then when the war started, I think Marvel or Atlas at the time was just like, everybody's got to fight Nazis. Everybody, you know what I mean? So he was just like, okay, you're reluctantly my ally, kind of thing. Because I think it just would have been a bad taste to have a guy sinking American ships during World War II, How you doing, Arkham? You're looking good. You lost weight. You lost a lot of weight.
Since the beginning, yes, but been lost a lot of muscle too, which isn't good.
Yeah, I lost a bunch of weight, and now I'm starting to put it back on. So I got like, I'm eating popcorn and stuff. I got to stop snacking. But I want to talk about Hawkman. You said you don't even know what his origin is anymore. The last I read, and keep in mind I haven't read any new DC comics since 2015, Jeff Jones basically said, or Jeff Johns, I keep saying Jeff Jones. Jeff Johns, when he redid Hawkman, he just said every origin is true. Everything is true. Basically, the Hawk spirit, like the way he described it, it's like water. You could take a little bit of water, put it over here. You could put a little, but then like the soul remerges and goes back in time. And I know it sounds weird me saying it now, but Jeff Johns is a better writer, so he actually made sense. And it was just like, except every story is true, kind of thing.
I like that series too.
Yeah, that was in the JSA, I think he did. Or did he do?
I had the JSA trades, and I did get a Hawkman series like that. He wrote the first 15 issues or something.
Kind of reminds me of the end of the Plutonium, where he shatters. And all the different versions of become different types of the plutonium. Did you guys read that?
What's that?
The plutonium.
I don't know what that is. I never.
It's a limited series. I think it's a Miller series, if I remember correctly. And it's the evil Superman trope, but it's done very well. And at the end, without spoiling anything, so it's a good read. It ends up being the catalyst for all Superman variants in this story, and it's kind of an interesting take, and I liked it a lot.
Oh, okay. And then Wonder Woman you brought up. Wonder Woman, like you could joke that there's four different, not joke, but you could make the argument that there's four different Wonder Womans: the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Perez age, and the now age. These characters are so different that their powers are different. Like I wonder, why does she even have bracelets anymore? Because she used to have the bracelets to deflect bullets, but now she's invulnerable. So it's kind of like redundant. It's like being invulnerable and having a Captain America shield.
Exactly. Exactly.
Why does she need an invisible plane if she can fly, kind of thing? Yeah.
I didn't like it when they made her on par with Superman and all that. It's just like you're taking away her own person. You're just trying to.
Well, Byrne did that.
Yeah.
Did you make her that powerful?
Yeah,
I know she was
Byrne
strong.
made her be able to take on. He made her powerful enough to take on. What's his face? The killed Superman. Whatever that name is.
Oh, Doomsday.
Doomsday. Yeah, I mean, he made her power. He was. And the Perez, even though she was in the DC universe, she kind of stuck to Boston and fought her own people forever. Like, and then William Messner, after Perez stopped writing it, and Messner Loeb's up to 100, and then she was fighting the other Amazon for the mantle of Wonder Woman, Artemis, before Byrne took over. So whether she was like powerful Superman wasn't clear, or it mattered because she wasn't fighting those. She was like Hercules, all that stuff. She didn't get back to the DC universe really, even to Byrne, and Byrne had killed her off and brought her back as a goddess.
Yeah.
And she was,
what?
Yeah, and she was always inconsistent back from the 40s. In the 40s, it was adventure stories with a kinky slant. But then after Marston died and Kanigher took over, she became kind of a jokey character herself, very jokey. I mean, one of her biggest foes in the 60s was Egg Fu. Does anybody remember Egg Fu? And then she was very inconsistent until Perez got her. And I think Perez basically, I didn't like the fact that Perez took Steve Trevor out of the equation. I didn't like that. But other than that, I think he distilled what the 40s one was. He leaned heavily into the mythology, very much kept her original origin of her being made out of sand. Then in the 90s, I barely read her because she was one of those characters that were just destroyed by DC. In fact, if I'm remembering correctly, she lost her title to an Amazon called Artemis, I believe, or something like that. And then asked, what the hell is this? This is stupid. And then the New 52 thing happened, and then it was like, okay, now she's a goddess. Now she's daughter of Zeus, and she's Supergirl. She's Superwoman. I'm like, that's not the character then.
I like her being the most powerful woman in DC, but I don't want her to be able to beat Superman. But I like that she has magical artifacts, and that's how she could handle with Superman. Like Superman can't break the rope because it's magical. Like if she takes the tiara off, she could cut Superman because the tiara is magical. Or stuff like that.
When Kanigher had her with 8 years of Ross Andru and Mike Esposito, it became, if Wonder Woman was the star of the comic, it was like a superpowered romance with Steve Trevor,
right?
And never went far. And then they introduced Wonder Girl and Wonder Baby, and they would just have these ridiculous stories. And they took that Wonder Girl character, I'm talking about inconsistent, the offshoot of Wonder Woman, and made her an actual separate character, not Wonder Woman when she was a girl in the Teen Titans. And that poor woman, that poor girl, Donna Troy, never had an origin.
Yes. Talk about
and Wonder Woman's biggest issue is they could not cancel Wonder Woman. Because if they didn't do a monthly book, the Molson estate took her back. In fact, after Crisis, before Perez took over, Trina Robbins had to do a 4-issue miniseries to keep Wonder Woman printed. So it didn't matter what they did. Like, it did matter, but like they were desperate. There was always a desperation to do Wonder Woman. I mean, Gene Colan had her. He hated her.
Yeah, the 20 years that Kanigher wrote her, yeah, I am the biggest Robert Kanigher fan. You guys know that, but he sucked. That was terrible series. Terrible. That's the reason why DC won't collect it. They'll collect the entirety of the Moulton Marston, H.G. Peters run. They'll collect Perez. They will not collect any of Kanigher.
They didn't. I reread some of them. They're not quite as good as I remembered, but it was Perez.
So, and then you said Wonder Woman. You said Hawk. I want to add mine. This right away when we came up with inconsistent characters, the first thing that popped into my mind was the Hulk. And if you read the first 6 issues of the Hulk, every 2 issues he had a different purpose, a different. They did not know what to do with the Hulk. So the first issue of the Hulk, everybody knows he's gray. He turns into the Hulk at night. He's a lumbering monster, and it kind of makes sense when you know the history of Marvel comics. They were transitioning from monster comics to superhero comics. They were hedging their bets with the Hulk. They did the same thing with the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four didn't have costumes. They were fighting giant monsters. And then the Hulk was a monster. And then by the 3rd issue, he was an angry, almost sinister character wearing the purple underwear, and he transitioned by the Ray. He was smart. Like he fought the Metal Master using his brain and everything like that. And then they stumbled upon the Rage, and that kind of
Steve
stuff.
Ditko stumbled upon the Rage.
Oh, it was Steve Ditko who did the Rage. Yeah, but the first couple of issues of Hulk, they didn't know what to do with that character.
Nope. In fact, there's an argument that Kirby thought he could fly, and Lee didn't want him to fly. Although this has been, I got yelled at one time when I said this, and you could see the Hulk like this, and then turning around in the air.
Right.
And they had to make jump lines, and they would be writing around it. And I think there was that one story that they trashed that Larry Lieber saved. And it clearly shows him flying. The Hulk's in the hospital. I mean, this is crazy stuff.
You saw him swooping and going back up. Like he's flying.
They really didn't know. Tales to Astonish, that run before with Ditko and Lee, and Ditko was plotting it, solidified him, and he got angry. And he got stronger when he got angry. But if he got too angry, he turned back into Bruce Banner, because it's a Stan Lee thing. You always had to have some weakness. He couldn't really just be.
He blew a fuse.
And they got rid of that because that didn't make any sense either. But it was Ditko, oddly enough. People, what did Ditko? Somebody said, what did Ditko really do except create Spider-Man's costume? Well, he created Iron Man's costume. To this day, they use that color scheme. He created the Hulk's Rage. Matter she gets stronger. That was all Ditko.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, yeah.
I think he had more of Doctor Strange than Stan Lee. I think Stan Lee kind of just left him alone a lot with Doctor Strange.
I think so, yeah.
And John, you can see what they've done to the Hulk recently, how much they've screwed with him. It's really bad.
I wouldn't know anything new about the Hulk. But then, of course, he changed later with the Gray Hulk and Mr. Fix-It. But it was a good save saying that it was Banner's like personality disorder.
Well, the characters are all around so long, and with different writers, there's some natural inconsistencies with different ideas. Like the Hulk is always the Hulk, and it can always go back to the Hulk, regular Hulk, regardless of what they do to him, because he's just a giant. Ultimately, every iteration is he's a giant monster. He might be too giant now, but that's the argument.
Another inconsistent character, and this is old, is Ghost Rider. If you read the first 25 issues of from his Marvel Spotlight run to his own series, they did not know what to do with Ghost Rider. He was another one. He shows up at night, he turned into Ghost Rider, and he was Johnny Blaze, but he was just the Ghost Rider, and he had the same personality. He was kind of jokey, and then whenever evil was near, he would turn into Ghost Rider. And then it was like an involuntary response, and he had a different personality, and you could just tell they did not know. And to the point, I maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Ghost Rider has his defining story yet. Like every other superhero, you could pick one story that's like, oh, if they make a movie, this is the movie they should make. Like, except his origin, which is kind of okay. What is the Ghost Rider story? I think they need a definitive Ghost Rider story, and that will cement him, because he's still kind of inconsistent. Is he an angel? Is he a demon? Is he being punished? Is he punishing the other people? Like, it seems like every writer completely reinvents the character.
I agree.
A character a Marvel character I thought was inconsistent was Venom, because when I knew him, he was a bad guy. Then all of a sudden he became Venom, lethal protector, and now I mean, what is he? A bad guy? Is he a good guy? What is he?
Yeah, yeah. Venom, yeah. Well, Venom is I'm gonna give a little leeway with Venom because he's a symbiote, and when he if he was to merge with Arkham, he would have a different personality than if he was to merge with you.
Oh my God, not Arkham.
You know what I mean? Like, so I'll give that a little leeway because he's a psionic. Like when he was with Spider-Man, Peter Parker's personality was so strong that it didn't really affect him that much. But when he went with why can't I think of the guy's name? Eddie Brock.
Eddie Brock.
Yeah, he was a piece of crap because Eddie Brock didn't have the willpower to withstand. So yeah, he's inconsistent, but I think the consistency is his inconsistency, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? The character's
not my favorite character.
But yeah, it's not my favorite character either. But I think they stumbled upon that later on too. Another character that I like, Miles Morales, I don't like for a whole bunch of reasons. But if I was okay, so here's where we're going to morph this segment. What would you do with these characters? But I'll start with Miles Morales. I don't know if he's portrayed inconsistently. I don't particularly like the character, so I haven't really read much of his stuff. But what I would do is he would find out that he's a mutant. And what he is he just copies the most popular superhero at the time. So he's Spider-Man, but all of a sudden he's gonna be Wolverine. And then maybe he'll be Hulk, and then some days he's Captain America. Whoever's just the most popular superhero at the time, he wakes up and that's who he is for the day. And change his name to Zeitgeist. And now he's an original guy who's inconsistent. Because I don't know.
The X-Men have one of those already.
What's that?
The X-Men have one of those already. It's a young black man that can literally master anybody else's powers.
Taskmaster.
Oh.
And better than the people that use it.
Is also him too.
It's like, come on, guys. It's bad.
You read too many modern comics, though.
Yeah,
I not that I read them. I just watched reviews.
Yeah, no, I'm only
Thinking Critical. I watch a lot of his shows, and that's where I get my updates. And it's just like, oh my god, thank God.
I used to do that too, though, and then I can't do it anymore.
So let's take Wonder Woman. What would Tony? Since you talked a lot about Wonder Woman, if you were given stewardship over Wonder Woman, what would you do?
I would go back to her origins. I would write her as a adventure character with a kinky flair, with leaning towards Greek mythology, and I would bring back the only thing that I ever found really endearing about the character, which was her love for Steve Trevor. There was always something about that I always liked. You had the role reversal of Lois Lane and Superman, whereas you had G.I. Joe being rescued by Barbie, and that's what I always liked about that. And unfortunately, I don't even know if Steve Trevor's even still around, for God's sakes. Who knows what Tom King did to him? Does anybody know? Anybody know what Tom King did to him?
Probably. I don't know anything that Tom King does.
Who knows? But whatever the case is, I would go back to that. I mean, there's an old saying: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if the thing was good enough to last almost 100 years, there must be something good about the seed. Just go back to what it used to be. Certain characters, like Daredevil, were never really fully fleshed out, and that allowed people like Frank Miller to come in and reinvent that character and really make it his own, or like Swamp Thing, with Alan Moore. But certain characters, they don't need that. They're perfectly good the way they were. And it's a mistake to try to mess with that, because if you mess with it too much, you could break it.
Well, that's the point I was trying to make about Ghost Rider, is like you can change these characters until they have their definitive story.
Well, they had Ghost Rider be just Johnny Blaze, turned into Ghost Rider, and he was just a superhero, basically.
Tony,
when you something like Hellfire, they didn't lean into the horror aspect after like the first couple issues,
Well, like Swamp Thing, Alan Moore's, I figure anatomy lessons and that whole green, that became Swamp Thing's definitive story, like it or not, even more than the British. So, like, in my mind, he can't be changed. Ghost Rider, I don't know. Like, what's his when he fought the Orb? Like what is when he goes
The 90s Ghost Rider had some pretty good storylines with Blackheart, who's Mephisto's
Yeah, well, that was
son.
Danny Ketch. That was a whole other character, but yeah.
But that's why they redid it as Danny Ketch, because it was so the other one, was just there,
Right.
Johnny Blaze was just there.
Johnny Blaze character, he didn't really have such a good story. Like Hulk, he can't really. Well, I guess they are changing him. I don't know, but
Well, they don't know what to do with the Hulk either. You were reading the 70s run of the Hulk, and it was just superhero monster of the week, of the day, a month, whatever. He fights one guy, he fights another guy. Once in a while, there'll be like a touching story, but mostly he's just fighting guys, and he says, "I'm the strongest one there is, and matter I get, the stronger I get." Yeah.
RRT and Z is the guy in the X-Men. He could only copy other people's skills, so he's kind of like a black Taskmaster. That's right. I heard.
Well, we don't know if the Taskmaster was black or not. He wore that mask.
He was the Black Master. So I'm curious. Like if I was to take over Aquaman, and Tony, what do you think about this? Because you like guys. So if I was to take over Aquaman, I would keep his origins, everything like that. But Aquaman's always been kind of like a jokey character, and then when they try to make him serious, they make him like 90s edgy, or they turned him into King Arthur under the Kurt Busiek run, which was beautifully drawn, but that wasn't Aquaman in my opinion. I would have Aquaman as King of Atlantis, and I would have him kind of like maybe the people didn't trust him because he's a human, you know what I mean? And the Atlanteans are merfolk, folk. But what I would do is I can't help it. I am what I am. I keep thinking of history. There's these great stories from the Bible of the sea people that rose up and just destroyed civilization.
Ended the Bronze Age.
Right. Yeah. There was like a Bronze Age massacre. Like they annihilated the Greeks to the point, like the Mycenaean Greeks, we can't even understand their language to this day. And the classical Greeks, they didn't understand how these structures were built. And, they read the Bible, the sea people came out and just whooped ass on the Israelite. Now, why don't we hear about the sea people anymore? Because Aquaman's dealing with stuff like that. And who are
Did you read, John, did you read the Aquaman 52?
No.
That one was surprisingly good for about 24 issues.
Yeah, the new 52 was my jump off point,
I don't blame you, but give that one a try. With the 52, there's some really good diamonds and a lot of shit.
Yeah, I continued with Swamp Thing because he's one of my favorite characters.
Animal Man was really good too.
I was gonna say I don't know why, but I continued with Animal Man. Those were the two exceptions. I still like Animal Man, but like I would have like what are the sea? Of course, the deep ones from H.P. Lovecraft. They start out as human and they evolve into, and the deep ones would raid the coasts for more humans to breed with. It's Aquaman. There you go. We don't deal with the sea people anymore because that's what Aquaman and Atlantis is dealing with. It's like that theory. We fight the terrorists over there, so we don't have to fight them over here. Aquaman is taking care of horrible sea monsters that we don't know anything about. Kind of like Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. It's like, yeah, you don't know about
literally the Godzilla of superheroes.
What's that?
I said Aquaman's literally the Godzilla of superheroes.
Right, yeah.
He's a crap out of sea monsters constantly.
Right. He's fighting Godzilla type things below the sea. You know what I mean? I think that would be a good, you got to give each superhero their own little like sphere of influence. Tony, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, if I was going to write Aquaman, I would commit to the bit. He was always a ripoff of Namor. So what I would do is I would go back and I would reread all those Stan Lee and Roy Thomas 60s Submariner comics and basically try to get as much inspiration as that and try to just make that into Arthur's new personality. The ultimate outsider, constantly at odds with the surface and with the undersea world, trying to find something in between, constantly being forced to fight things, like sort of what you did, John, but a little bit more leaning towards the Namor of the 60s. That's what I would do. I mean, the thing about Aquaman is you get too deep, too serious with him. He becomes no one can take him seriously, but if you make him too jokey, he becomes Jason Momoa in the Aquaman movie. So I mean, he becomes dude bro Aquaman. So it's you have to find a razor's edge with that character. And Arkham, I did hear that series was good. Like John, the New 52 was my jumping off point. I should go back and check some of those out.
Just like I said, I think there's 3 books that really shine in 52. John read 2 of them. You know that he agrees with me on those. Check that book out, and I think you'll be pleasantly happy with it.
Yeah,
at least for about 20 issues. After that.
I've read every Swamp Thing comic up until maybe 2018 or so. I got to go back. He's just
a Swamp Thing gay now.
He's a DC character.
He made that up. I have no idea.
Yeah. So Marcus, what would you do with Hawkman?
Well, I think I don't know if I would. I think I would keep it based in Egyptian, and I think he wouldn't be Kadar Hall from the Alien Kadar. Although I don't mind that, like the space cop, but I think I like that he can the Egyptian who, and he's a curator of the museum, so he has like the view of he's an expert in Egyptian history and maybe even world history. So he's able to use all the weapons that you could possibly think of and research.
Yeah.
And then keep him as a brutal character. Like he's a smart guy, but he's a violent guy.
Right.
You know, they drew him big and like even with the hairy arms and stuff at the end. And the best Hawkman was always the one that was kind of brutal, very serious. And then in fact, he might have maybe his wife or Hawk Girl would kind of be lighter and kind of tease him a little, you know, because he's so super serious.
Well, I totally dig everything you said. I think you're absolutely right. Like I would
just jettison the science fiction part. Everybody's
I would embrace like it was space aliens that landed in ancient Egypt. Boom, from Thanagar.
That's fine. I don't mind that. I love those Kubert and Murphy Anderson where he's the space cop, but he just became a regular super. That's what made him the regular superhero that became the Super Friends. You know,
right?
The washed out. We all love the Super Friends, but they were like all kind of washed out, like milksop heroes, right? But if you were thinking in a Marvel way, you definitely just lean right into kind of like you would do the same with Dr. Fate, right?
Yeah,
another inconsistent character.
Yeah, I mean he would know Dr. Fate from back then.
They would team up. Yeah, they would be friends.
I would make it
allies. Yeah.
Kind of like what Jeff Johns already did was like the exposure to that metal that was from that spaceship.
The nth metal, yeah.
It bound him to
I don't know. I didn't like the nth metal thing. I kind of like the idea that the wings made him fly. I mean, that's stupid because it doesn't make sense. But Egyptian magic, I'd rather have Egyptian magic make him fly. The nth metal is too. The Flash does stuff like that, and Green Lantern already does stuff. And the Atom shrinks down because he's got a rock, you know, like, and that's all cool. But what's make Hawkman a little different, you know?
But I would have him to be like a scientist, very smart, but then flies into a rage, you know, enjoys brutality. And Arkham's drawing a story now about a male physical Greek-based hero, and then his wife, who's going to be more like Galadriel, like, and that is kind of like Hawkman and Hawkgirl, where I want the male to be. He has a spear, and he's when you have a spear, everything needs to be stabbed, and the woman, she has this sphere, this scrying device, so everything is a puzzle that needs to be solved, you know, and together they complement each other. That, you know, I didn't realize it when I was making up these characters that's kind of how I would do Hawkman and Hawkgirl.
I kind of like what Keith Giffen with Justice League International did with Hawkman, where he was like the complete straight man.
Yeah,
everybody else around him was a complete F up. And he's just like every issue, he's like, I quit, and walks out. And they keep paying him to come back. That was great. I loved it.
I would have like Carter Hall too. Every once in a while, like in a rage, he would start talking ancient Egyptian. Like it's hard to keep track of all of these memories from past lives in battle, you know. And he would just, I think he would have no problems killing. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, I think he wouldn't have to.
You know,
A modern Conan almost.
he should be
yeah,
going
a
in
little
that
bit,
superhero.
right?
Like he picks up his battle axe, and Green Arrow is just, or Batman's like, "What are you doing, Carter?" And he's just like, "Oh yeah, this is the 20th century. I was in the 14th century for a minute." You know, I kind of like that he would have a connection to here. So basically, I would do the Jeff Johns version of Hawkman, but I would get rid of the two different Hawk girls. It's kind of creepy that he has like a freaking 18-year-old girl that's not into him, and he's just like, "We are destined to be together." It's like,
No, I don't like that. He did that. They
made
did
it
that on the
creepy and
Justice
weird.
League Justice League cartoon,
plus
it's just kind of weird.
plus Cheryl Hall was one of the sexier. I love.
She would definitely be into him. Like, if they're not quite the relationship. I mean, if she was Hawk Girl and he's Hawkman, they have to like each other. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
The dynamic between Shiera and Shira Sanders and Hall were never better than in the 40s and in the 60s because they were equals. That's what I loved about, especially in the 40s. They were equal. They had like a Nick and Nora from the Thin Man kind of relationship. They weren't just there for eye candy or to be saved. They actually participated. And that's what I really liked about it. You're right, John. The whole thing about making her into a teenager that wasn't that was creepy. And I remember in Justice League Unlimited, I don't know if you guys watched that episode, but essentially the big reveal to that one was Hawkman was cucked. Did anybody see that episode where it was revealed in a flashback that in ancient Egypt that she was screwing around behind his back with a black slave, and that slave was the reincarnation, was going to
Oh
be
yeah. Then they brought
of John Stewart, and like it was told that she never loved him, but the three of them were destined to be reincarnated. Like, oh man,
That's hard.
Yeah, that was like
Why are you bringing the Green Lantern into this? This has nothing. It just.
Who wrote that crap?
But I mean, I like that Jeff Jones had that. Jeff Johns again. He had Dr. Fate, Black Adam, Captain Marvel, Shazam, and Hawkman, like doing missions together in ancient Egypt. I kind of like that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that can only work in comic books. But
I drew Hawkman. I'll put it in your DMs, John. You can post it if you like.
All right. Oh,
did you guys read 52?
What's that?
Did you guys read 52?
Oh yeah, the series 52.
Yeah. I would love for them to do more series like that where you have these amazing stories with offshoot characters. You don't have to do these epics with the main people constantly. Let other people shine once in a while. And I think that's why I love 52 weeks so much, was that no Superman, no Batman, no Wonder Woman, just everybody else. And it was really fun.
And that character Isis, they brought her back from the TV show, the Joanne Cameron TV show. They had Black Adam's wife as Isis. For some reason, that character's never going to be around anymore. I wonder why.
Oh, she had a really not a fun end in that story too. That ended up going into World War III after that.
Yeah, this Hawkman.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Oh, thanks. They did that 3 years ago for somebody at Heroes. Somebody, we traded some art. He has the moon behind him because I got a coffee stain there. I thought you'd like that. Yeah. So I really leaned into the more brutal side and big muscular side of Hawkman.
Yeah.
With the chest hair, and he's really full of testosterone.
Yeah, I like the Hawk woman or Hawk girl from the Justice League animated. She had that laser mace and she was always ready to smash everything.
Oh yeah, I like that too.
Yeah,
I forgot about this. I like what I did.
I'm trying to think, are there any more? Like the Fantastic Four have been pretty consistent. Like the first 10 issues or so, they were filling out their personalities. I'll give them a break. But Peter Parker, I think, has been pretty consistent.
I think that the Fantastic Four, that's a good thing you mentioned. Marvel tried to keep the Kirby feel to the Fantastic Four, just about up to almost when Byrne took it. As soon as they left, Joe Sinnott left, they'd have Ron Frenz do all these covers. You know, everybody, they always had a Kirby feel to that until John Byrne took it over. And then he had a different, like the early Kirby that thinned everybody out.
I like John Byrne's run on it.
Oh, yeah. I loved it too.
Yeah.
He was on it 5 years.
I love that run. I'm trying to think. I think it's the DC characters that are most inconsistent, just because really they got like another 20 years on Marvel's characters. I mean, Green Arrow.
Hulk is inconsistent because he's like
Tony, what you say?
I said the X-Men, very inconsistent, especially now.
Well, after Claremont left.
Yeah, I can't even speak on that because I literally have not read an X-Men comic since 2015.
I think they were pretty good after Claremont. I think it was up till maybe where they died, quote unquote, and they lived in Australia.
But it still was Claremont, so they all acted the same, you know.
Yeah, every once in a while, all I know about them is from what, you know, everybody's been talking about them, the Krakatoa era. But just even yesterday, I saw like Emma Frost is like their leader, and she's like one of the main X-Men. I just can't get into it. You'll see on Sunday Comics, I think next issue she shows up as her first appearance. She is a detestable person. Like it has to be that she's doing a long con, because she is Ghislaine Maxwell of Marvel. Byrne's run on X-Men of F was Robert Kirby. Byrne reused a bunch of Kirby ideas, even panels that have broken. Yep.
Yeah, but I kind of meant that thick, like X-Men, you know, when by the time he was really going, like Fantastic Four 50, 60, 70, as much as they had Buckler, like, you know, swipe that. Byrne went early, went before all that. He was more X-Men, Fantastic Four 5 and 6, you know. But yeah, Marvel, Kirby and Ditko and Lee's characters were so strong, and their personalities were developed by the time they left. They were on so long, the same guys, that it's hard to not imprint. Tony Stark is Tony Stark. I mean, they couldn't make him a munitions anymore because that was really not popular. And, you know, when he became a tech guy, and he's Tony Stark, you can make him cool. Like Bob Layton and Dave McLean and John Romita made him cool. He wasn't cool, but other than that, I mean, Thor was pretty. He was really just Superman at the beginning, and then he became the Norse god. Yeah,
he had he was basically Donald Blake with superpowers for a while. His personality was nothing. But yeah, he kind of. I mean, to me, it's not inconsistent if they come up with a good explanation. Like I know everybody's waiting for me to talk about Hank Pym, but they came up with a good explanation why Hank Pym's personality is so different, because, you know, they said he had like a bipolar.
But that's a Marvel thing. They have one character, and Ant-Man, they loved Ant-Man, but Ant-Man wasn't a successful character, so he became Giant Man. He became this, he became why not? I mean, that's a Marvel Comics thing. Like the characters with the feet of clay that got angry at each other and got depressed. I mean, not majorly depressed, but for a superhero, yes, you know.
And then they explained it away that he has mental issues. It works. You know.
Who had mental issues? What DC character had mental issues, you know, until 1973?
Yeah. Thor had very inconsistent powers. I remember one of the issues he defeated the Cobra, I think it was, by sending out a magnetic pulse that picked up Cobra and stuck him to his hammer. I'm like, that makes sense, as Thor, God of Thunder.
He used to be able to time travel with his hammer.
Yeah.
And they did that story. They did one like fill-in issue that got rid of that off the hammer.
Yeah, well, he lost all his time. I remember when in the Keith Pollard years, when he fought Immortus. Immortus stripped him of all the time travel powers. I recently bought Stark Wars Iron Man trade paperback. Bob Layton does not get enough acclaim. Those are smart stories and mostly written by. Yeah, Layton was fantastic. The problem is Layton realizes he's fantastic, and he's such an egotistical maniac.
He really is. I kind of like him for that, right? In a weird way, right?
I invited him on the channel, and he was like, "How much are you gonna pay me?" I was like,
Did he? Oh
like,
man, he's got a million
you
stories.
seriously think I'm gonna come to you on your channel and not be paid? I was like, all right.
I had X-Men, I had Iron Man original cover 148 by him. I bought it from for $45 in 1981. $45. And then they sold it like in the mid 2000s for like $4,500 on eBay. Do you know how much that's worth now? There's not that many like latent Iron Man covers out there. It's got to be worth double, triple that now.
Yep.
I had that for years. It was a prized possession.
Thor could open dimensional portals and travel instantaneously to any point in the universe and could trap villains. Yeah.
Yeah, they got rid of that.
He was by far Marvel's most powerful character.
You know, and they didn't lean into it. They did the thing on until Jim Shooter, you're going to go into those tissues. That they didn't. He was just kind of a superhero with the Avengers. He didn't really come in. It wasn't until Englehart and then Shooter said, "You're a god." Or like who's that? That bald woman. You're a god. What are you doing hanging out with these losers? You know, and then he would show up at the end of stories and take care of characters that they couldn't defeat. And everybody got mad at him during those Jim Shooter and John Byrne, George Perez years.
Yep.
You're going to do those soon.
Yeah, I'll be doing those soon. Tony, you wanted to say something?
Oh, like the Joker is another one. In the 40s, he was a gangster with the comedic flair. In the 50s and 60s, he was a merry prankster. In the 70s, he was back to being a killer. And God, by the new 52, he's stapling it, cutting off his face and stapling it back.
I saw that. That was crazy.
He's everywhere. He's been everything. Grant Morrison made him homosexual and androgynous. Frank Miller, I don't know what the hell Frank Miller did with him in the Dark Knight. That was weird.
But, you know, I'm going to defend Frank Miller on the Dark Knight. He never meant that to be the main. That was just his story of the end of Batman. That wasn't supposed to be the be-all and the end-all of Batman. Right. And it was, if you take it like that, it's a pretty good story. If you know, it's the fact that DC ran with it and made Batman a maniac. You know, it makes it a bad story. Especially the first two issues were particularly good.
I remember Chuck Dixon was talking about the Joker when he was working with Denny O'Neil. And somebody asked him a question, what do you feel about this reveal that there's 3 Jokers now? And the Jeff Jones 3 Joker, and he goes, they don't need it. He goes, one of the things that we always said was the Joker is chaos. Every time you do the Joker, feel free to reinvent him and change everything, because that's the one consistency about the Joker is he reinvents himself constantly. So you could have gangster Joker, you could have like all the characters in the movies, they could all be the Joker at different points because he's Daffy Duck. He's constantly changing, which I thought was kind of cool. You could have a bad interpretation of the Joker. I had an off day that day. No, I'm not going to kill somebody. I'm not going to be a killer anymore. I challenge myself to, be a goofy clown for a little while. So I don't think there's a need for it. And what now? There's like 2 different Harley Quinns. Is that what they're doing in Marvel or DC? I
have no idea what they do with Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
I know the Harley Quinn makes Jimmy and Amanda very popular at comic conventions. They get a big line.
I still say that Harley Quinn.
I love you say it. That cracks me up.
Without Harley Quinn, without the Joker, there's no purpose for her. She is
no, she's a complete waste. And they're the ones, they don't get a lot of crap for that, but they're the ones who made her bisexual.
Yeah,
it was Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Conner. People like that. Her art's nice, it's good, but they don't get any blame for it. They blame DC, but they don't blame those two. And there's a huge line for them. But
I'm trying to think. Is there anybody else? I mean, I'm sure there's somebody obvious that we're missing.
I don't think Barry Allen stayed pretty consistent. Hal Jordan, they made him a drunk driver. I mean, he's supposed to be Chuck Yeager. That was the idea. Chuck Yeager. He was a stunt pilot, and John Broome wanted him to be. That's what they thought of him. He was a stunt pilot. Those were the heroes of the 50s. Were the stunt pilots. Like before the right stuff. and they made him a truck driver because just like Captain America or any character that has a little bit that a little right, even back then, the lefty writers don't understand it. They don't understand how anybody can be good. It worked out for Stan Lee, but it doesn't work out for everybody.
Tony, what are you gonna say?
That's why that character should never leave the 50s. It's like what Marcus said. He is Chuck Yeager. After the 50s, they didn't know what to do with him. He was inconsistent. He was a truck driver. He was this. He was that.
Toy salesman.
To Carol Ferris.
And they made him a drunk driver, which is the worst. He's supposed to be the Captain America of DC Comics. Well, other than Superman, the Captain America of DC Comics, right?
I'll say that to me, Wonder Woman doesn't work outside of World War II.
Wonder Woman doesn't work outside of putting her in bondage. I mean, that's a basis of her character.
Ambush, but I gotta say, I got like the Ambush Bug special. Oh my god, did I hate that comic? It is one of my most hated comics.
That guy was such a quiet guy.
He was like a prototype for Deadpool, in my opinion.
Yeah, he really was. He really was. That was good. Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's a good.
I think Doctor Strange has been pretty consistent, if you ask me, except for that one weird period when he had the black mask.
He was still Doctor Strange, though. He just wore a costume. I love that costume, as a matter of fact. People don't like it, but I do. I wouldn't have him in the costume, but I did like it.
But yeah, I'm trying to. Daredevil, before Frank Miller, he went through a couple of changes. But after, but then, like, I think this is supporting my theory. Frank Miller gave him his definitive story, and now they don't really change him anymore. But before Frank Miller, Daredevil was just not good enough to be Spider-Man guy.
Well, you know who really started that? It was Jim Shooter. Jim Shooter and Carmine Gil Kane and Carmine Infantino. Carlos Jansen was the inker for Daredevil since the mid-'70s. But he really laid into the darker characters and the darker side of Daredevil, introduced Heather Glenn. And then Roger McKenzie to me, it was all one. Like Roger McKenzie took over. And then Frank Miller did do exactly what you said. But Jim Shooter he had like short 6 or 7 issue run. Yeah. And I think that he really did a lot with the character and doesn't get any credit.
Do you remember when Matt Murdock pretended to die and it was his brother?
Yeah, Mike Murdock. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt Murdock had everybody was going to find out that he was dead, so he invented his own twin brother. And
that was great. It's so bad.
He was Daredevil, and then he just told everybody, he died. My brother died, and they were like,
Matt comes back. Yeah, Mike died.
Mike.
That was it. Mike died. That was such a. They didn't, even Stan didn't know what to do with Daredevil, but they kept publishing him forever. So,
yeah, I heard that the only reason they gave it to Frank Miller, it was they were going to cancel it. So yeah, do whatever you want, and he saved it.
Yeah, Thor was really in bad straits before Simonson took it over.
Yeah, Thor really was in bad straits before Simonson.
The stories were terrible. I mean, what's a terrible comic? I mean, every comic they made then are better than the comics they make now, regardless. But it was all fill-in issues for at least 7 issues, like a different artist. Like once you see Alan Kupperberg on a book, then the book is a full fill-in, right? And he would do, it was just adventures, it wasn't any system. Like after Roy Thomas left and did that long Norse God thing, he was just floundering, like just story-wise. And it wasn't until Simonson made it big. I saw Rob Liefeld on X claim that Teen Titans was outselling X-Men. I'm not sure that's true.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't say anything, but Teen Titans was a powerhouse at the time.
It was. I agree. But I don't know if it really outsold X-Men at any point.
Tony, what were you going to say?
She-Hulk was pretty inconsistent outside of John Byrne. She was all over the place.
Yeah, She-Hulk's a corporate creation. Like when Hulk Hogan came out, Stan, it was before Hulk Hogan. Stan was worried about losing the Hulk trademark, so and a female Hulk, so he made a She-Hulk. I mean, that's why they made Spider-Woman too, so they could have a Spider-Woman. So many of the creative stuff that we see was because they wanted to keep the trademark. Monica Rambeau. That what they didn't want to lose. They could not have a Captain Marvel. They didn't want DC to get the name back.
Right. I heard, and I think I don't know. Somebody could correct me, but I heard that the Hulk TV show, they were talking about introducing a female Hulk in the TV show. So Stan Lee said, "We got to make a female Hulk first. That way we own the character." Because if
right, I think you're right.
If the TV show makes it first, then they own the character. So they rushed out a She-Hulk series, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't, the original She-Hulk wasn't too bad. I mean, she was the mousy lawyer that became She-Hulk, but she was a, like you said, an editorial. We got to do this, and I think it was kind of like one of those hot potato assignments. You do this. I don't want to do this, and John Byrne said, "I'll do it," and she was really a nothing character until John Byrne. You're all nuts. Wonder Woman is perfect for all kinds of cool. Yeah, I agree. Fighting legendary monsters of God, she has enormous story potential. So does Green Lantern.
They don't do that, though.
That's just it. They don't. Yeah, they don't do.
They do that sometimes. Like George Perez did it, but nobody really does
right.
that.
If today's Wonder Woman comics was her like exploring mythology,
Gail Simone did it
and stuff like that. Yeah, but if you're not going to do that, keep her in World War II.
Gail Simone and Adam Lepresti did it. Except that Wonder Woman was. I was reading that, online, and boy, she beat the crap out of Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was really beat up in Gail's run. If Gail was a guy, if Gail was a male writer, Gail would be writing that they were treating the woman badly. Let's leave it at that. That's how she got work. But that was all mythological. Actually, it was good. It was pretty good.
Supergirl and Power Girl, wildly inconsistent. Outside of, I mean, they're both good.
Oh, Power Girl particularly, yeah.
Able to write again. I mean, in the 80s, they did that stupid edict where she can't be there because Superman has to be the sole survivor. So then they turned her into a protoplasm. Then she became an angel. Then she became like no one knows what to do with her. And Power Girl, I remember she was the Earth 2 version of Supergirl. And then when they brought her into our continuity, she was like the granddaughter of Arion, Lord of Atlantis. And then it just became stupid after that. I don't even know what her origin is now. I don't even.
Jeff Johns gave her the best origin ever. She's the sole survivor of her universe that was destroyed. So she's from Krypton, from a destroyed universe. It works.
And I
remember that Arion series, and then it turned out that Arion was just using her for something. Yeah. But Supergirl, you're absolutely like they fluctuated with Power Girl only because they wanted Superman to be the last. But man, did Supergirl suffer from a whole bunch of setbacks.
Well, they killed her in Crisis, and then Byrne got streamlined the whole mythos where he got rid of Superboy, which he regretted, and which completely screwed up the Legion of Superheroes.
And they never recovered.
The whole basis of the suit. Even I know what they was, and he regretted doing it, but he was asked to do that. And then they had to bring back a Supergirl because they wanted to have a Supergirl. And, he ran out of stories, but he really left because he was doing their Superman in the comic, but the old Superman was still the Superman they were putting on the toys, and he got annoyed. Well, he gets annoyed easily, but still.
Yeah, John Byrne's a bit of a diva. Yeah, you correct him and he leaves.
Oh, you correct him and he kicks you off his website.
I joined the Bird Robotics. I never even posted because I'm like,
don't. There's a whole website.
Off, I'm going to be so upset.
There's a whole forum that's been around now 20 years that are all expatriates that got kicked off of the Burn forum. They made their own forum.
Well, I haven't done it in a while, but for a long time, once a month, I would send an email to John Byrne asking him to come on my channel. You never know. You
never know. He's got a book coming out.
You never know. All right, we've been talking for an hour and a half. Is there? Well, I'm sleepy, and I'm gonna do my Avengers Assemble at 10 tomorrow. but then I got to leave for work. I'm working 3 to 11 tomorrow, and I'm working 3 to 11 Sunday.
That's not enough.
And then Monday I'm going back to regular schedule, so
Wait.
that'll be good. Give me a couple of days to adjust before I start streaming again.
How long before your body gets used to regular schedule?
That's why I'm saying that I got a big stack of comics here, so I might do a comics. But I've been saving that stuff to 7 o'clock because when I stream at midnight, I'll get like 17 people watch. Although tonight I got over 60. Yeah. So we'll start with Arkham, and we'll just go around. Arkham, anything you want to say before we go?
Nope, just working on your book, getting better and better at doing digital art. So I'm really liking how I'm progressing page by page.
Cool. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Arkham's working on one of my stories, and this is your first comic book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's pretty good. So yeah, I'm liking where it's going. I just wish Daniel would get back to me with the colors.
You still MIA?
I said, "You gonna color this?" He goes, "Okay," and then he started one page, showed me one page, and then I haven't heard from him. Oh well.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, but you're not even halfway done yet, so there's no rush. Tony, anything you want to say?
Well, I have a couple of ideas for next week. If you,
what are we gonna do next week?
Okay, I got 2 ideas. I'll spill them. The first one, I'd require Arkham's help if he's available. That because he would know more about this than me. Oh, sorry, that way. Saitama versus Superman. I would need assistance for that one. Just in case
I don't even know who Saitama is. So.
And One Punch Man. Or the other one that we could do would be the Squadron Supreme versus the Justice League.
I like that one if we want. Yeah, I like that one.
Those two. Also, watched Marcus draw stuff. Please support John. And thanks.
Marcus?
Well, I'm working on a public eye. I'm working. I'm not going to say, but I have stuff done. But we're working on it at pace. And tomorrow on the studio, Phil Diaz is going to be on.
Oh, cool!
Promoting his book. Which is that? Now I forgot the name of the book. But I backed it. I backed that book. It's not expensive.
Yeah, good book.
Yeah, that looks like a lot of fun. So he's always a lot of fun. I've met Phil before, and drawing his character might not be that easy though.
Oh, and just so you know, I keep coming up with villains for the public eye. So.
Oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. I can do. Well, we discussed what we're working on with the public eye. I know what's going on. So that's
so many cool villains for him. I can't.
That's why I want to get this one done in my head.
But so Mark, Renzo is I want to get the King Fu Christmas special out by Christmas. So we Renzo's about I don't know, like 3/4 done with Patriarch #1. I said, just stop right now, because the King Fu story is only 16 pages. And then I wrote a short backup page. So it's going to be a 22-page floppy comic. So I got 2 artists working simultaneously. Renzo, I'm hoping he can do the 16 pages as fast as possible. We're going to start the campaign for King Fu way before the Patriarch. So that way we could get it printed and everything like that, get in everybody's hands by Christmas. So that'll be my next campaign. That'll be on Fund My Comic. And it's going to be streamlined. Just the comic. And then one really cool add-on idea. I can't wait to show you guys what the add-on's going to be. But that's it. There's going to be no cards, no stretch goals, just like a streamlined, fast campaign. It's
cool. Sounds cool.
It's I love the story, the backup story. I can't wait. And it's a Christmas book, so both stories are. The backup story is way more Christmassy than the front story, but you'll see. But anyway, that's what's going on with me. Then. As soon as he's done those 16 pages, we'll finish the Patriarch and we'll launch that, because I want to wait for because I could launch the Patriarch campaign right now, but I kind of want to wait because it's a 45-page book. God forbid something happens, So that's my goal. So I think the King Fu special will be the next campaign that I launch. So I got nothing else to say. I'll see everybody tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're gonna look at Avengers 151. It's one of those classic. We're gonna do the roster for the Avengers kind of comics, and then I wanted. My goal is to get up to like around 200. So the next 50 weeks.
Oh, 200 is controversial too.
Yeah, that's one of the creepiest comics. And as non-politically correct as I am, that's still one of the creepiest comics ever.
And the character's name is Marcus, and I have nothing to do with it.
Yep. All right. But I'll see you guys. Oh, this is a good one. What about the best crossover event? Yeah.
I like that. That's a good one.
I gotta write it down because I always forget what it's gonna be. So the best crossover event. I'm gonna write it down right now. Crossover. Because I'm always like, hey Tony, what are we doing again? All right. So next week we'll do the crossover event. All right, the good one, RR. All right. And at that, we'll say goodbye, kids.
Goodbye, kids.